Good morning, Vietnam. I'm Nick.
I'm Luke.
And this is Tabletop Tonic.
We back.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're going to get to, the bottoms of things.
Oh, yeah?
No, we're not.
Oh.
I just said that.
Well, you didn't tell me the stuff that you were going to talk about this week.
Yeah, so I had a couple fun things I forgot to mention for you last week. So, just some little fun, goofy things.
You're expecting.
Yes. Me and my wife are pregnant.
I'm going to throw you a gender reveal party, and there will be explosives.
So going back to the first episode when we briefly talked about the royal family, but we got into King Henry VIII's wives.
Okay.
There's a musical called Six about King Henry VIII, all the wives.
Is it a Broadway musical?
It was on the West End in London, which was their version of Broadway.
Right.
But I think so. It just came out in 2019.
Okay.
And I don't know if they got a chance to come over here and do it, just because of COVID and everything. Because I know they shut everything down with COVID. But I was curious because I thought it was so weird that we in passing were talking about King Henry VIII's six wives.
What an odd concept for a musical,
I know.
too.
So I feel like it's a little rip-offy of Hamilton a little bit because not so much. I mean, all the music in the show is like very poppy. It's like very pop music,
Okay.
which is fine. But I was watching. I was just curious. So I listened to like a couple songs, and they I forget whatever their version of the Tonys are in London or in England, but they were performing like the big number, and which is like their opening number where it kind of introduces like all the different wives, yeah. And
are they headless in the musical?
No, but they mention like they go through each one and like because two of them got beheaded, and Anne Boleyn mentions like she got murdered for being too hot. And then the other one who got beheaded, I think actually had like multiple affairs. And that's why he killed her for not being loyal. But no. Well, yes, but no, that's not a good thing to do. Don't murder your wife for just divorce her.
It's probably easier.
But she will take the kids and have
Unless you're a king.
Yeah, unless you're a king, then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The only thing I had to say, I was like, oh, this is weird. Or not weird, but I was like, this sounds super familiar. There was a part in that song where there's like this piano going like do 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 do, and like they're like slowly like doing like this rap, like breaking down everything. And I'm like, why does this sound so familiar? And I'm like listening to it, and I'm like trying to like bob my head with the piano, and I realized it's like they're doing the part of Satisfied, kind of like they're like it sounds like literally like the same keys,
right,
and everything for
same riff.
Yeah, for Satisfied.
Okay, so it is a ripoff of Hamilton.
It seems a little bit rip-offy. I know it seems like it has a relatively big following, but that part I was listening to it because I've listened to the Hamilton soundtrack like so many times.
Yeah, because I imagine that. In the UK, Hamilton is not a huge thing because it's like fuck London, like fuck Britain,
fuck you guys, yeah.
Like
that, but that was the one thing I was like, I kind of like lost interest a little bit. I was like, oh, this seems like they decided to like rip off a song from Hamilton. A lot of the other songs are kind of like their own like pop, like Ariana Grande kind of style thing or whatever. But
I have to see this now.
It's interesting. It's If it ever came to Broadway, I'd go see it just for kicks.
Just to see it.
Yeah.
I know in the UK, they do not think the same way about the American Revolution that we do.
Like they probably have strong opinions. I
imagine. Like they wasted all that tea. Good day, sir. But yeah, I remember seeing a textbook about the American Revolution in London or in the UK, and it was like why we let them win. And it was like Uncle Sam with like his arms crossed in the front. So they seem to think like, oh, our idea of it is like against all odds, we came through with like France's help and like overthrew like the English monarchy and founded our country.
Amen. Oh, hold on.
And then, yes.
God bless America.
God bless America. And then their version is like, let the kids play. We'll get them back in 1812.
Yeah, we're coming back for you.
Yeah, like, oh, go do your own thing. We'll be back. Don't worry. So that's just funny.
Their idea is like they dropped us off at college, and we'll see you in 4 years.
Yeah. Oh, enjoy your independence. Wink, wink. You're still my kid. But it's not like with Canada and Australia where there's kind of like actually just let them be.
Yeah. Well, Australia is funny on that end because it's a prison colony. That's what it was.
Yeah, they put prisoners there, and then eventually the prisoners were like, "Hey, we don't need you.
Yeah,
we have our own prisons now,
yeah.
and they're much nicer than this entire continent."
We built roads here. Yeah, no, I know. That with Australia, if you can like trace your ancestry all the way back to like the beginning, they call each other POMs, which it's an acronym for prisoner of Her Majesty or something like that. POM.
PAHM.
Prisoner of Her Majesty.
POHM.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, prisoner of Her Majesty. Yeah, POHM. That's what prisoner of Her Majesty.
Okay, so you can trace back to if your ancestors in Australia.
Yeah, that's what they call each other. They're like, oh, he's a POM.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing is about like these British colonies is they each had like their own distinct like thing that they were used for. Like America, it was like mercantilism, where we were just like we would manufacture like ships and like they'd be sent back to England, and like I don't know what Canada was for, poutine or some shit. But
in Canada there was a huge fur trade. The fur trade was huge up there.
Oh, that makes sense, like the beavers and stuff like that. And then India was like the crown jewel of the British Empire.
Yeah, so you had like spices and everything.
Yeah, that was a huge trading thing. But it's funny that they found Australia and they're just like,
we're just gonna.
This is where we put all the bad people.
Yeah, we're gonna put the worst of the worst here.
Like, let's just like ship them off to this continent, like way off in the world.
They must have found that place and just assumed that it was like a wasteland. Like they didn't bother going any further than like 5 feet off the beach. Like this place looks like it sucks.
Yeah, neither does anyone who lives in Australia. Isn't 95% of people who live there live on the coast?
Yeah.
Like no one lives like inland because it's such like a.
It's like everything kills you.
Yeah,
and
it's like dangerous.
Yeah. Do you hear like the Australia can't get a break because they were on fire. Now they've had massive flooding, and now they're in like the farmlands, they're having like these huge like biblical rodent infestations right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. You forget about the fires though, because the fires happened, and then we almost went into World War III.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and everyone forgot that Australia was like 90% of it was like on fire.
And the government said aliens are real, and then we also breezed past that also.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I don't know if we're going to address like all this stuff once COVID's over. Or
we're going to take a deep breath and then go back through the list.
Yeah, like, all right, what did we miss? Aliens are real. Australia is still on fire. They need help. World War III, let's get back into that now. Let's throw some stuff over there. But
yeah. And some other fun things I learned. So I watched this doc on Hulu called Skin, and it's the history of nudity in film. And
nice.
Yeah. They go, so interesting enough, they go all the way back to like the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how, so just like in paintings and art, there's like tons of like nudity, like men, women. And even in the Vatican, like the murals on the wall and stuff, there was like a lot of like naked men, naked women. There was a lot of statues of like naked men and stuff like that.
Okay.
Then when one pope died and another one came in to power, he declared that nudity was like indecent.
Oh, and he cut off all the penises, right?
Yeah, so
that's in the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, he hired painters to paint over all the naked pictures.
Right.
Like all the murals. And then then there was people whose jobs were to go with a hammer and break the dicks off all the statues.
That's a cool job.
Yeah.
But can you imagine being so powerful that like your opinion on something alters art.
So yeah, and that's where the documentary kind of starts is, they kind of start there. I mean, they don't go into super deep detail with it, but that's kind of they talk about how from that point on in art, nudity is like very taboo or like risque sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas like before, it was really nothing anyone cared about.
Right.
And it wasn't until the Pope at that time deemed nudity as like this sinful thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just like this spiral.
Yeah. And then they started talking about when, filming in America happened. They basically said the first time a film camera was invented, people started like filming naked people. Like that was like, because they were trying to almost like replicate what they were seeing in paintings almost. Mm-hmm. But they were trying to do it in like a moving picture form. So it's like all like this crazy. There was like rules about like you couldn't like these mainstream studios, like when like Warner Brothers and stuff, who like go back all the way, they're like refusing. They're like, they have a strong stance against like nudity and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if you wanted to go see like a film with like naked people in it, there was like these like secret road shows that like they got these like nudie films, and like you'd go into like the back of like, I don't know, like it's almost like a speakeasy, and they like put up a screen and show like these like nudie films. But
excuse me.
The one interesting thing that I found that I wanted to talk about with that was they talk about the X rating.
Okay, that's like porn.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing. They came out with the rating system I think it was around the 60s, 70s. Mm-hmm. And it was G, PG, PG-13, I think NC-17 and R. And then they also had X. But the thing is, all of those except X were copyrighted. So, you would send it through a review board, and they would determine what your rating is.
Okay.
They didn't copyright the X because what they did was if they let that, they didn't copyright it because they figured if they let that rating be for artists or directors, as like a self rating. Like if they felt like the content that they made was like very adult, mm-hmm. They didn't have to go through the review board. They could just say this is X rated, and we can just skip the review process, and everyone would essentially have an idea of what was going to be in that movie.
Right.
Like there'd be like a lot of violence, or you'd see nudity or something like that. And then,
so X literally means like not rated. Like it's X because it's like,
yeah, it's like there's content in
here. It was skipped like by the board.
Yeah. They left that uncopyrighted so that people who are making major motion pictures could, I guess in a sense, like censor themselves.
Okay.
I guess a little bit. So like you could give people an idea of like what this is going to be.
Right.
Because there's actually a movie that won an Oscar called The Midnight Cowboy that's rated X. And it was just because it's the story is actually about like this. Actually, the guy who's the main character in it is Angelina Jolie's dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forget what his name. It's like something Voight, I think. I forget what his name is, but
Angelo Jolie.
Yeah, Angelo. Yeah. But he's like the story is like he's like a young guy who kind of has like all these affairs with like older married women. He like tries to get money from them. Is essentially I think like the storyline of it. But that movie was X-rated because that was something like the director was like, the content of this is kind of adult. Not that it's like hardcore pornography.
Right.
So to get into that though, because that rating isn't copyrighted, porn was like the advent of like being able to film porn and also like put it on like VHS and stuff like that. They needed like a a pull-in, and because X wasn't a copyrighted rating, they're like, oh, triple X. We can make something like this is like super
unrated.
Yeah, super tab. Like this is like
Right.
So that's where like everything like triple X came from, was because the X rating from the review board, that was just a non-copyrighted rating. So
Okay.
they could legally label something, triple X or something like that.
It's interesting how ratings work now in like America specifically, I guess, because I don't watch like many foreign films or anything like that. But I know that you think ratings are like government issued, but it's always like the media company censoring themselves.
Yeah, it's like it's like a job in Hollywood. It's like a review board where their thing is like, we will determine what. Well, now it's very like there's like things that check off on a box. Like if you say like the F word this many times,
Right. But if you remember like 80s movies like Caddyshack, stuff like that, there's like boobs in every 80s movie.
Yeah.
That's like a staple, is like, oh, we have to show like a topless woman here. And they're like rated like R,
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I guess it's still like R rating,
Yeah.
but like it was like, you kind of get away with a lot.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is like with music, there was no like adult advisory warning on music until
that didn't happen until like the 80s and 90s with rap music.
that was when
right?
the NWA came out with "Fuck the Police."
That's right, yeah.
And that was the first one that had, because Al Gore was the vice president, and the one who
Wasn't it
really
his wife who
Tipper Gore.
Yeah.
She was the one who really pushed for like the ratings and like to censor this content. And it's interesting because like that like album, was so, I guess, controversial that it caused like the modern system of like adult like ratings and like having to censor stuff on the radio and stuff. But it's not the government saying that you have to censor stuff, because you can watch Netflix and they can do whatever they want, and like stuff, and HBO and stuff like that. It's the media companies themselves deciding what can and can't pass and everything like that.
I feel like ratings are kind of like it's more or less they're buckling to moral pressure from these outraged groups of like, this is not moral material.
Right. So that's what's interesting is we as a society think that we progress so much in terms of like being more open about sex and like, like drugs and like having these conversations. But in media, we've kind of regressed to a point where like everything is taboo and you can't really have these conversations. That's not always the case. There's like a way these conversations are had now, but before it was just like very open, and now it's more like, oh, like hint, like sex scenes, like shit like that, are not as like accepted. I mean, sex scenes is like one thing in like radar movies, but like it's like much more tame.
Yeah.
Because you could say like, what's that one Tom Hanks movie? It's PG-13. It's not You've Got Mail. It's Sleepless in Seattle or some shit. He's like a very young.
What's it about?
I don't know. I just remember I watched a video where he's like, shit. And it's like a PG-13 movie. And that was like a big deal like back then.
I'm trying to think.
But I don't know. It's just interesting. It's also it's fun to like see like where these things come from. And funny enough, it's almost always like black people start doing something and then everyone gets afraid. Yeah. Because with gun control, I don't know if you ever heard of this.
It was because the Black Panther Party was buying up guns, right? Left and right.
It was like, weirdly enough, Republicans are so gung-ho on like no gun control now, like Second Amendment. But the gun control was enacted because when Reagan was governor, they were having it wasn't a rally. I think it was just like a press conference he was having. And Black Panthers showed up with a bunch of like assault weapons. But no one was hurt during the rally. They showed up. Yeah, and they were carrying...
Like the same dudes now who like walk with AR-15s in front of like state capitol buildings and stuff.
Yeah. And they were like just doing a protest and they were armed. And they were even like taking pictures with like kids and stuff. Like no one was hurt.
Yeah.
But then Reagan was the one who started pushing for gun control. And he's like exalted as like the ultimate Republican next to Lincoln.
He's like the god of Republicans, yeah.
Yeah, like him and Lincoln are like the Republican like mascots now.
Yeah.
And it's interesting if you like track down like the roots of like where it comes from. it's
because we don't want black people to have guns.
exactly. And Chappelle has a great bit where he's like, if you want gun control, every black person here
should
go buy a gun. And then there was going to be, and it is kind of true because it's like, oh, we don't want gun control until like a different group starts getting guns, and then the general public, the true colors really show.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, everything's either based on like I feel like a lot of like it's like based on a form of like fear. It's either like fear based, racist based, or like people think they have like a moral high like a higher moral, like their morals are like with the nudity and stuff
are like superior.
Yeah, it's like this is like filth and trash.
And religious connotation too.
Yeah.
I mean, religion is supposed to be separated from government, but that is like it's like never the case because all these like this stuff happens that's like clearly religiously based. Like 10 Commandments like on the door, like the footsteps of like courtrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, you swear on the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. It's like clearly this is like religiously based.
Yeah, and people in government are like, I'm doing, you know, God's will and stuff like that.
Yeah,
where it's like you should be doing the will of the people, not what you believe is.
Like gay marriage, there's literally no argument against that. You know, for like that not being like passed, like as like a thing because it was like not legal and like for federally, and the argument against it was literally purely religious.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to be a country that
has a separation between church and state. Yeah.
And then you have all these like mega churches, like televangelists who fly private jets.
Yeah.
And they don't have to pay any tax money. And it's like,
insane,
I can understand individual like religious institutions, like small churches, you know, not having to pay. There's arguments for that, you know, but like when these mega fucking churches. And Joel Osteen won't even let people into his church when there's a hurricane going on.
Or when the entire state freezes over.
Yeah, but the fucking mattress guy opened up all of his mattress stores and let people in, like, sleep on the beds and stuff. When he's doing more goodwill for the people than, like, this mega church. Where this guy is, like, a multimillionaire with a private jet. Maybe start fucking taxing him, because clearly it's more than religion at this point. Yeah. It's a business.
Well, those are, like, those evangelists are the ones who are, like, Send money to my administration, and God's going to answer your prayers.
Yeah, and his answer is, please send more money.
Yeah,
because your connection is faulty.
Yeah,
but
I'm not getting to Cancun on my own, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's where my prayers are. I'm going to take your prayer to Cancun with me because that's where I have the best connection to God.
There's some sweet 17 and 18-year-olds that need to hear the word of God.
But I understand, like, if you're, like, a small establishment and you're donation-based and you're just, like, cutting, like, you're making ends meet, I get, like, that is tax-exempt. A lot of shit is tax-exempt for, like, a good reason. But if you're at a certain level, you gotta say, like...
Yeah, once you open up, like, a mega stadium that's your church, you probably should get taxed.
And every time you do a sermon, you're making, like, hundreds of thousands. Plus, from people who aren't even coming to your sermons, you know?
Yeah, you're just getting people from just seeing you on TV. Sending you checks and stuff.
It's, like, not a donation at that point. It's a subscription service. Yeah. Not like fucking Amazon or Netflix pays a dime in federal taxes anyway.
Yeah.
That's a loophole. But at least with them, it's like, you fuckers, like, you're cheating the system.
Yeah.
The churches aren't even cheating the system. It's set up like that they are playing just right into it and not even having to go through any loopholes.
Yeah.
We could, like, set up... This podcast should just be like a fucking church. And we
can make a faith, around...
Yeah. Tonicism.
Yeah.
Tabletopism. And...
We're the founding fathers. We should get our own state, like Utah.
Yeah. Which one of us would be the religious figure?
Oh, I think we should, like, figure out some way to split it between the two of us. Or, like, I don't know, you got to find the golden plate, and then I'm the only one who could read it.
Okay.
We could do that.
That works. But then who has the hat that we peek into? Do I have the golden plate and the hat, and I give it to you?
Yeah.
And then you, like, peek inside?
You're the one who could read it, yeah. Or the golden microphone, really.
Yeah. Ooh, this is good. I like this. Anyways, with all that aside, I want to talk to you about something that happened to me today, because I was curious if you felt the same way about this. Do you ever have someone say something to you in passing, and it probably means nothing to them, but you know, like, oh my God, I'm, like, not going to stop thinking about this, because it's, like, so rude.
What they say to you?
So, like, I just like have a series of like things that like strangers have like said that I still think about, and maybe that's on me for like still being bothered by stuff like that. But I remember one time I was pulling up to a road stop, like because they're doing construction, and there was no like stop sign or anything, and it was over like a hill, so I didn't know where to stop. So I was like kind of slowly creeping to know when to stop, and the lady, like when I finally see her, she's holding the sign. She's like, "Stop, stop. How about we try stopping now?" I'm like, "Okay," and she's like, "All right, now you can go." Like super condescending. Yeah. I'm like, "Okay, thanks. You're doing a great job, by the way."
Yeah.
And she screams asshole at me as I'm driving by. This is a state worker, by the way, who's making tax dollar money.
Yeah.
And that like still bothers me to this day because I'm like, you bitch. Like you had to like be like clearly I didn't.
Situations like that, I usually tell people to go fuck themselves just because I don't know. I feel like I don't know. There's like a level of road rage that I get where I'm like I'm trying to help you out. Like I'm following the rules. And you feel like you could verbally assault me right now, like
right? And I wasn't trying to do anything wrong, but
exactly,
I was just like didn't really know what to do in that situation. Yeah. And instead of being helpful, this person probably has not thought about this since. I'd be surprised if they did, but I think about it like from time to time, and it bothers me. But today, I was at the fucking car wash, right?
Yeah,
and I hate those car washes where you have to pull up and then they latch onto your tire and drag your car through it.
Oh yeah,
it's not one of the ones where you stop.
Which car wash you go to?
It was like a Hoffman car wash.
I went to a Hoffman car wash.
Oh hell yeah, nice fist bump, brother. Thank you.
Do you have the monthly subscription?
No, that's too rich for my blood.
I got that.
But so you had to have your tire just right, and then you had to put it into neutral, and then they like keep pulling you forward and telling you like where to put your tire. I'm not very good at it because I've only done it like twice, so I'm taking it really slow. And the guy who was telling me to come forward was like being nice, but the guy behind me who was like spraying the back of my car was like, "Hey, sometime today." And then I like went through.
Yeah,
but I'm just like, you asshole. I'm trying to like do the right thing here.
No, I kind of fight back in those situations. I had a similar thing happen to me,
but he was already like behind me, like gone. Like there's nothing I could have done except for get out of my car.
There was like this is like 1 or 2 years ago. I went to the one in Del Mar, and the guy doesn't work there anymore. I haven't seen him since. But I was going in, and he wasn't telling me which way to go with my tires.
And you can't see your tire.
Yeah, I can't see the rail. So so as I'm going in, I'm like pointing. I'm like, do I go this way? Do I go this way?
Right.
I'm like, do you need me to go left or right? And then he's just like waving me on. And then I think I jump the rail. And then he like does like this big thing like I fucked him up. And I roll down my window. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking asking you which way to go. And then he's like, you went over the thing. And I was like, yeah, clearly I felt it.
Thank you for helping me.
I was like, thanks for telling me something I already fucking know. You clearly have a PhD to do this job. But I don't know. Like I usually don't get shitty with those people because they do a fine job. But like, I'm asking you, do you need me to go this way? Do you need me to go that way?
Right.
And you can't seem to point. You can't muster the effort to lift up your fucking finger and point left or right.
It's probably why he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just frustrating because like, you know, like if I did that at my job, if I was rude to someone like that way, I would be fired immediately because like I'm trying to help people, you know. But like some people just feel like they can just get away with like whatever they want and say shit and like they'll be completely fine.
I give you credit for being a waiter because the way some of the stories you told about how people speak to you, I would not allow that.
Oh yeah, people are on a fucking power trip.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people assume just because they go out to eat, they can like say whatever they want to you.
Well, I think it's a lot of people like are like, I'm paying this money and I'm not doing something at home, and like so I'm just gonna have a complete power trip. And like,
do you find it's older people or younger people?
Almost always older people. Younger people,
that's what I thought,
like our age, are almost always super nice. They almost always take their dishes and will like put them to the side of the table and just like try to make your job way easier. And then a lot of older people, you'll be like, I'll have like a burning hot plate in my hand And this is like a nicer place I work at too. It's not just like a regular like fucking Applebee's.
Yeah.
It's like an actual like fine dining establishment. And maybe that's part of the problem too. But I've seen it at shittier places too. But and you'll be like, oh, hot food, like and they'll have shit in their way, and they will not move it. They'll just like lean back a little bit.
They expect you to move it.
And so like you'll have like a burning hot plate in your hand, and you're trying to like move their stuff, and it'll be like their glasses, their phone. Like, not even, like, plates and shit. Like, their personal,
it's like their personal items.
Mask now. I had to touch people's masks, and it's, like, disgusting. Because I don't want to touch your fucking COVID-infested mask, you know? So, yeah, people are definitely, like, on a complete power trip.
Yeah.
But
you know, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever had... I mean, people have obviously said shit to me in, like, passing. It's never bothered me, just because I feel like I always retaliate in some way.
Right. I will say, just to touch on the server thing one last time, if for anyone who's listening to this, if you're like in the service industry, I think one thing that was hard for me to learn is that your instinct is to be super passive, like when people are like rude to you and stuff, because you're like, oh, I don't want to be rude. Like my entire job is dependent. And if you work in retail, like any service job, your instinct is like to be passive and just be like, okay, like it's just another shitty customer. But if you stand your ground without being rude, if you find that way, which I think I've kind of become able to do, and like stand up for yourself, they do not fuck with you nearly as much. Because these people who are on like a power trip and are searching for like any weakness in you to like poke at, because it's like some sort of sadistic shit for them. If you like stand your ground and are like, oh, can you move that? Or like if they're being rude, be like, or like if they're like being a drunk asshole, be like, I'm not going to serve you anymore. They have no idea what to do because they're so used to getting everything their way when they're an asshole that they just don't know what to do. And a lot of the times, if they're with family and friends, and you can clearly like gauge the room, and like everyone else is like, oh, this guy's like kind of being an asshole, but I don't want to say anything to him. If you stand your ground in front of them, it's a million times better. Yeah. Because you can almost see the relief on these people's faces when they're like, oh, finally.
Someone finally is like getting this dude to like.
Someone did it for us.
Yeah.
And I've had people who like, I've had numerous people in the past who were an asshole to me for like a long time. And I finally was like this one guy like called me the wrong name every time because he thought it was funny. Mm-hmm. And like, he knew what my name, but he would always call me like the wrong name. And I like responded like to that name, which is like the most base level like degradation I could possibly do to myself, I guess is the way to put it. Like I brought myself down to a level where I'm letting this man just call me whatever he wants. Yeah, like my identity is whatever this man wants it to be. I eventually was just stop responding to him because he would call across the fucking restaurant.
What did he call you?
Henry. Yeah. Fuck if I know where he got that from. But he would call me from across the restaurant.
You watched the musical about the six.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Henry VIII. Like, I'm going to chop your fucking head off, asshole. And I just, like, started ignoring him until finally he started calling me, like, Lucas. And then I'm like, yeah, what's up? What do you need? And he has never done it since because he's like, oh, shit, I probably look like an asshole. Yeah. So it's very rewarding to, like, finally stand your ground. I guess in any scenario, just, like, assert yourself.
Yeah. You know, I've had one scenario where someone called me the wrong name. This one gentleman that I know, he's older. He called me Franklin for a while, but he was just so old that it was a mistake.
Yeah, that's a different thing, though. The thing,
and I never wanted to correct him because I was like, this dude, he's not doing this on purpose, right? And then one day, I think my aunt was with me, and she rudely corrected him, like she was like really shitty about it, and I was kind of like, and he was like, what? And I was like, I mean, it's Nick, but he was calling me Franklin. But he was like so sorry. He was like, oh my God. And then he's like, why didn't you correct me? And I was like, well, I don't want to be rude.
But at that point, it's weird because like...
Yeah, at that point, I've made it weird. I've accepted the fact
it had been Franklin. Too long.
Yeah, it'd been a while. And,
It's like when you don't know someone's name and like you keep like, hey, you, and then it's like been way too long for you to ask their name.
and you hope someone says their name.
Yeah.
So that you can act like you don't know.
Like, oh, thank God, I know your
And
name
then you
now.
say their name way too much.
Yeah, and it's even worse if they know your name. They're like, hey, Nick, and you're like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
What's up,
No, there's
pal?
been a couple times at work where we had clients come in and they remember my name from the last time they saw me. But it's been months since I've seen them, and also I've worked with like several different people.
Right.
And they're like, hey, how have you been? Blah blah blah. And I'll just talk with them. I'm like, yeah, man, how's it going? It's been a long time since I've seen you. And like they'll keep using my name, and I'm like, I don't know your name. I'm sorry.
Do you know also, I heard this thing where you almost never remember someone's name the first time you meet them because...
Yeah, no, I feel like every time someone's told me their name for the first time, it just...
Because you're thinking about what you're saying, and they're thinking about what they're saying if it's your first interaction. So your focus is on like how you're projecting yourself and not like internalizing what they're saying because you're too focused on like, oh, am I coming off the right way and stuff?
You want to make a good first impression.
Right, because it's a big deal. And then you're like, oh, fuck, what was their name?
Yeah.
Because you don't internalize like anything.
The only good thing I feel like about that, like when you first meet someone, is like, I feel like 5 minutes afterwards, I could be like, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. What's your name? But in my situation where I let an old man just call me Franklin for 2 years, and then
2 years?
Yeah, it was a while.
Hey, I mean, the one guy who called me Henry,
he
he did that for like 3 years, and he knew my actual name. That's way...
You see, he mistook my name for...
Yeah, that's one thing. And if he's an older person, you know.
And I was fine with Franklin. I was like, okay, whatever.
Huh? It's Franklin now, like the turtle from...
Yeah, that's what I thought, too. I was like, Franklin the turtle.
Yeah, that's funny. But, also at the car wash today, I guess my top window wasn't all the way closed, like my moonroof. Even though it was like pressed all the way in, but sometimes you press it too much and like it comes up a little bit. But like the canvas was closed, so the water started pooling up, and then it all started pouring onto my girlfriend's lap.
Jeez.
Oh, it wasn't me, so it was hilarious, and she thought it was funny too. But just in the middle of the car wash, just like a huge stream of water just started pouring all over her. I was like, fuck, close it. But that was really funny though.
That happened with my dad went with his friend to a car wash, and he forgot that he left the moonroof completely open.
Oh,
but he had he had the inside part closed, and he forgot that so it was just like pouring in.
Yeah,
but they thought it was the funniest thing ever, though.
Yeah,
I mean, at a certain point, you're like, this is pretty funny.
Yeah, even if it's like not at the time, that's one of those things you look back on.
Yeah, you're just like, I can't help this. This is funny.
But that guy ruined the hilarity for me.
Yeah,
but
that guy was just douchebag.
Well, I also have to let it go. Like at some point, it's just like you gotta accept that some people are just shitty and just are just like, you know, don't give a fuck.
The only thing that I hang on to is I find, at least on my dad's side of the family, not necessarily my dad's side, not everyone. It's usually like my aunts or on my dad's side, or like my uncle, who isn't even related to us by blood but by marriage. I don't know. They like hurling insults at me. Like, but it's like passive insults.
Okay.
And
like really mean stuff, or like
it's like it's shitty.
Well, I mean, like an insult is an insult.
Yeah.
Like
those things I hold on to.
There's an insult like where like me and you will like pick on each other. But that's like friendly.
Okay, that's when me and
that's
you,
different.
When, like, I don't know, if I say something like fucked up or nasty to you, we know that we're joking with each other.
Right.
Or if you do the same thing to me, I'm like, okay, that was funny.
That's just friends being friends.
But like I don't know, my favorite one is
it's different with family.
Yeah. They like to mention how fat I am, which I mean that's no new news to me. I'm aware of this.
They mention like
they mention it in such a way.
That's such a fucking family thing to do.
Yeah, but it's only them who do it. And what I find, I'm trying to think, because there were some great ones this past weekend.
They were over this past weekend?
Yeah. And they gave me some good ones, which...
Jesus fucking Christ.
I like it and I don't like it. One of two things. I like it because I feel like it keeps me sharp. Two...
it humbles you.
Yeah. And you come up with like good insults to throw back.
Yeah, at that point you're just like, fuck you,
Yeah,
you
I'm like,
snaggletooth bitch.
This is like open game. You know?
Oh, we're playing this card?
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten to wine yet, but
What I find funny about those situations,
we're on hors d'oeuvres,
yeah,
but here we go.
Yeah, I just got here. What I find funny about that is like they say those things to me, and I'm supposed to take it, but I say something back, and it's like I just stab them in the heart. And they're like,
yeah,
how could you?
How dare you?
Yeah,
it's always the people who like say like the meanest shit who are the most sensitive when you throw anything back at them.
You know, I'm trying to think of some good ones that they told me. But like I feel like on the opposite, my mom's side of the family, you openly insult each other as like good fun. Mm-hmm. But if you actually want to talk shit about someone, you say it behind their back.
Right.
That's like that's like the 100%, like, because they're all German on that side. That's how you do it. That's the game I'm down with playing. But like when you're like, oh, we're going to openly insult each other in front of each other's faces and like you cannot react. That's what I'm not down with.
Right.
I'm trying to think of, fuck.
It's funny that the white side of your family is like jokey, but then if you want to talk shit, you have to say it behind their back.
Yeah.
It's a very white thing to do. But then like the other side is like just like very upfront.
Yeah. My favorite one, I can't remember like a good one, but like they're like, Jesus Christ, you're fucking fat. Why aren't you eating? That's like something they love to do.
What?
Like
that doesn't even make any sense.
They'll put out food. They're like, why? They're like, you are so fat, Jesus Christ. Then they're like, well, eat. I'm like, what?
Now I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to right now.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Holy shit.
No, it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure you love when the...
No, it gets funny after a while. Well, it's been happening to me for so long that I find it hysterical. What else? I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like there's something about fat shaming just because I've been working out more now.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there is something to like someone speaking, like insulting you. I get people shouldn't be fucking insulting you like without like trying to be like, you know, without good intentions. I like us insulting each other.
Yeah.
That's one thing. They shouldn't just like be like throwing like nasty shit in your face.
I think they assume it's like, I don't know, constructive in some way.
Yeah. But it's also not.
Yeah.
It's also like,
you know, my aunts do it passively. They do a good job at it being like super passive. My uncle is like very open about like, hey, I think you're a fat piece of shit.
Is the uncle who knows the difference between seltzer and club soda?
Yeah, which I don't know how the fuck you could taste the difference.
Our fucking podcast is named Tabletop Tonic, and we drink club soda religiously throughout it. And I cannot tell you the fucking difference between seltzer and club soda. If your line between beverages is carbonation mouthfeel, you need to prioritize some shit.
We have an interesting relationship because sometimes it's like really good. We're like, oh, we talk about stuff, and then like, I don't know, he just gets something on him, and he's like, I just got to go in on you right now. But I don't know. Like I said, keeps me sharp.
Damn.
Yeah, no.
That's fucking.
Do you have anything in your family? Does your family do anything to you like that?
Well, I gained 35 pounds during COVID.
Same.
Because I was like too skinny before, and then COVID, like, I was like size like 32. Like, I was like very scrawny, and then COVID hit, and all I did was like just drink in absolute excess. And like, I put on like all in my stomach, and like none of my clothes fit me anymore. And my family...
Well, were you like eating a lot, or were you just drinking a lot?
Probably a combination of both, because I got a lot of takeout.
Because beer is a killer.
That was the problem. I mean, I'm mostly like a wine drinker anyway, but I definitely like started drinking like in super excess because I didn't have to do anything. Like nothing was... I went from like having a job and school to like still having school, but it was online, and it was like no one gave a shit. Even the professors were like, oh, just like whatever. Let's just get through this because it just hit and stuff. To like literally nothing being expected. I didn't have to drive anywhere. I didn't have to go anywhere. So I'm just like, fuck it, I'll drink.
So your family started giving you shit.
Oh yeah.
Here's the difference though. I've weighed way less than I do now, and even then, when I was like at my like healthiest,
right,
they still gave me shit for So I don't know. My entire life, I've been called a fat piece of shit. So I'm used to it.
Yeah, it's never any progress you make. It's still like
Because
it's not until you have a fucking 6-pack.
I've lost like substantial amounts of weight prior to me. Just like I think on top of COVID and also.
I think everyone gained weight during COVID.
Yeah, but also like the past previous couple years, I was having a hard time, so I just like gave up on life. But like even before, like when I was like in high school and like kind of when I was in Hudson Valley, there was times where I had lost like a substantial amount of weight, and like I was feeling good, and then I would see them, and they don't mention the progress. They're like, "Oh, you're still fat. I just want you to know we still think you're fat."
Yeah.
And then that just like morale wise, you're like, well, I don't feel like rallying right now.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. I guess with my family,
but then again, it has been motivation to do better, but at the same time, it's also been the same thing that like,
keeps you down.
Yeah, it keeps you down a peg.
Yeah. I guess with my family, I don't see my extended family very much, but it's a lot of obviously like I've had like a lot of problems with alcohol in the past. I would even go as far to say as that like I'm an alcoholic or recovering alcoholic, I guess, because I don't really drink anymore. Like when I do, it's not nearly as much as I used to. Because like during COVID, I would wake up in the morning and like pour myself a glass of wine, and that was like most of my days, you know, just because I just had nothing going on, you know. I was like depressed and stuff. So like they'll say like a ton of shit about that. They'll send me texts like, you really need to work on it. You need to go get help and stuff like that. Like in the past when it was like more of a problem and stuff like that. But then like also I'll go over and like the first thing like at any family party or anything is like someone's trying to get me a beer.
Drink, yeah.
And like it's kind of like a trigger. Like that's what they call it. I'm not triggered.
Yeah.
But like there's certain events that I guess if you're addicted to anything, you kind of need to look out for because these are like things like that
exactly,
make you want to do something.
Yeah.
And like the first thing is like, oh, have a beer, or like oh, you gotta work on your drinking, but like, oh, come on, like do a shot or shit like that.
Do they say it constructively, like we're worried about you, or are they just like
it's constructive, but then when I was starting to like do better and see progress with it.
Then they're like, it's not a problem anymore.
It was like, we're all gonna like let's push like the drinking, you know. So it's like you can't like just say something constructive and then also it's like the same thing with like you and like the weight. It's like they think like they say like constructive things, but then also it's like, oh, like here, like indulge. Like now you can indulge. With something like that, you can never let yourself indulge. Yeah, because that's like after the first one, it's just game over.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no.
You can never like indulge.
I kind of have like a shit metabolism kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got I mean, because different people have like different type of like, but mine is very. I have to be constantly working, like I have to be constantly like working out and watching what I'm eating,
right?
Because like, let's just say like I don't even go crazy like eating. Like let's just say like I watch the calories, make sure everything I'm taking is like leafy greens, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And like maybe I don't work out for like 2-3 days. I will gain weight, even though like I haven't eaten like a ton of like, you know whose body's like that, surprisingly, and you wouldn't know it, is Jason Momoa has the same problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like
always has to be on
he
top
talks
of
about,
it.
yeah, because he's like, well, he's been like, you know, gotten like super ripped for like Aquaman and stuff. But he was saying I think it was he did an interview with, I forget what it was like a Men's Health magazine. And he was saying, he's like, it's not easy. He's like, cause like if I just like take a week off, he's like, I will gain an insane amount of weight.
Yeah.
I just got one of those things. So I just got to keep on top of it. Sort of thing.
It's always hardest cause like when you're working on something, like that's a problem. It's like you put so much work in for very minimal gain. You have to keep going for so long, and the second you like divulge or indulge in something, it like weeks worth of progress, it will just completely be back shot. So
but I think it's a good time to take an ad break.
Oh, what time are we at?
We're at 50.
Holy shit! All right, yeah.
But we'll take an ad break because we do want to talk about the Justice League
and Godzilla after that.
And you guys learned a lot about us. So there you go.
All right.
We're back.
And we're back. We hope you enjoyed that ad for your listening pleasure. Unless you have the rich Persian, yeah. Unless you're a rich Persian listening on Spotify and you can afford to skip the ads. But
yeah, they probably don't listen. Rich Persians probably don't have to deal with ads.
Yeah. And they are our number one podcast viewer as well. It's rich Persian people.
And also the Vietnamese. That's why I mentioned, because it's morning right now there.
Yeah, we're really doing this for the Asian community overseas.
The Far East and the Middle East have been real good to us.
Yeah, and our boys overseas.
Yeah.
We love to put this out when they can wake up early and have something to start their day with.
So we're going to be touring in Abu Dhabi next month. And
expect pictures of us in Bugattis on the gram shortly.
But then a week later, we're going to be in Fallujah. So you might not hear back from us.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to talk about Justice League?
Yes.
Snyder Cut, baby.
I do.
That shit was.
We briefly talked about it in the other. Kind of our pre thoughts on it. Before we get into spoilers, what did you think about it? And then we can dive deeper and we'll give a spoiler alert.
I thought it was good. I wish we could see the original version, like without the Whedon stuff. That
Zack Snyder said this entire thing that he showed was his own original vision.
Do you want to just go into spoilers now?
We can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so clearly some of the stuff was from Whedon when he shot it, right? And some of the stuff was, and it was obvious what ones were him and what ones were Snyder's version.
Because a lot of the stuff that there was a lot of stuff that wasn't in this, that was in the original theatrical release. Mm-hmm. That was clearly just Joss Whedon and Warner Brothers are like, we're just gonna recut this entire thing.
Yeah, but the tone of it too.
Yeah,
like the scenes with Whedon.
Yeah, there's a lot that I think the most surprising thing about this film is how decent of a movie it was. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not saying this is it's groundbreaking cinema. It was a good story. Like this Zack Snyder's cut of this movie is a good story that you could follow.
Right.
Like I wasn't bored.
Yeah.
I know some people got bored with the length of it, but
4 hours was a lot, I thought, but it seemed worth it.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff you could probably take out of it. But I think what surprised me is it was a good movie on its own.
Right.
And then what Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon did to make it what they think is a good movie and what would make money for them
was so different, so worse.
Which I know this movie did make. I think it made its money back at the box office, but review wise, everyone was like, "This is just a massive train wreck."
Yeah,
which was really the Justice League really put the nail in the coffin of a linear
of the DCE.
Yeah, a linear DC universe.
Yeah,
because that's when they started making we'll just do Joker and the spin-off Batman movie,
right?
And with
Robert Pattinson
and everything.
I felt like this movie, the thing that surprised me the most is they said that it was going to be, in the reviews and stuff, that it was way more focused on the characters who we haven't seen, like the Flash and Cyborg. I didn't know that it kind of felt like a Flash and Cyborg movie.
Yeah, no, they did justice with those two because, I mean,
they really focus on those characters,
but
in a good way.
Yeah, because those two characters were probably the most important in the story because you needed Cyborg was the one who could kind of control and take apart the mother box, and then in the end, it turned out that it was really the Flash being able to run so fast that he could turn back time,
which was crazy.
Yeah,
because that wasn't in the original, right?
No, so none of that was in the original. Do we want to start from the beginning, comparing this movie to theatrical? I don't know if you remember anything from the theatrical.
Yeah, I do.
So let's just start with the beginning.
Yeah.
The beginning of this one is it takes place at the end of Batman versus Superman, where Doomsday kills Superman and he gives his death cry. And
it's heard around the world.
Yeah, it's heard around the world. And then it's at that moment, one of the mother boxes or the mother cubes opens up and signals to Steppenwolf. Because Superman's dead, they're not afraid of it. They're not afraid.
There's no Kryptonians or Lanterns on Earth.
Yeah, there's no one to defend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and it gives a significance to the death of Superman in Batman vs Superman, because before it was kind of gimmicky because you were pretty sure he was going to come back.
Yeah.
And then they bring him back and he's like, "Do you bleed?" and stuff like that. But now it kind of is like a moment that sets forth this entire movie.
Yeah, that's the beginning. So we're like, okay, that's the start. Do you remember the beginning of the theatrical one?
It's with him, the mustache, where he doesn't have the mustache, and he's like talking to the kid.
There's that where it's like the phone video,
but then it's also Batman fighting aliens, right?
And that's how you find out about the mother boxes, because you remember he waits for a burglar to come out, and then he knows somehow that one of these parademons is going to attack the burglar,
right? And
then he ropes the parademon, and then it decides to blow up. And then on its like burnt in blood splatter on the wall, there's 3 cubes.
Right.
And Batman's like, what does this mean? And as the audience member, I was like, yeah, what the fuck does this mean?
Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening. At least in the beginning of this one, it's set up in such a way where it's like, we're going to show you where each of the boxes are.
Yeah. So you have some idea.
Yeah, you have some idea. Like, it's not like we're just like, okay, let's splatter this Avengers alien on the wall.
Yeah.
And
you might not know what the mother boxes are.
Yeah.
But you know that the death of Superman's insignificant, and then that one of these objects is awakened and will have importance in the movie to come. And then you can kind of see the motives behind the villains for why they're now choosing to come to Earth after Superman dies. Yeah, basically.
Because they think there's no heroes to defend the planet. They can take it over.
Yeah, like this is our time now to strike, basically. Which also gives significance to the Green Lanterns, too. Because they played a much more important part in this movie.
Yeah.
They were still cameo pieces,
but you understand the
that there was a Green Lantern on Earth, killed in the battle over the mother boxes that first took place when everyone united, and because like his ring flies away and stuff, and it sets up like there being a lantern in the future too to help defend Earth.
So there's that. We get a little bit more in depth Aquaman scene in the beginning where Bruce Wayne is looking for Aquaman. And that scene is played out more like serious than, I don't know if you remember like the one in the theatrical thing, but it was just jokes.
It was goofy.
Yeah, it was like it's like jokes the whole time. But it was like in this interaction between Aquaman and Batman, Batman's like, I'm trying to put this team together. And then Aquaman's like, I don't want to be a part of your stupid team.
Yeah, because like I got real shit to do, like helping these people. He's like actually like way more important to like the town, like the Icelandic like town and like stuff like that.
He helps these starving people.
Yeah, he's like, winter's coming, they need like food.
Yeah,
like I actually need to like do shit here.
Yeah, and he's saving people out at sea and stuff like that.
And you understand his motives way more too.
Yeah,
because that's more fleshed out. Because you're like, okay, I can see like this guy who dressed up as a bat comes to you, and he wants you to be part of like this super team.
Yeah,
and you're like, fuck you, you're rich as shit, and these people need help, and you're not helping them.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm going to do it.
So the stuff with Aquaman's, that compared to how it was in the theatrical release, much better.
A lot better. Cyborg got the real spotlight.
Cyborg, was probably the worst character in the theatrical release.
He was just a gimmick.
Yeah, it was just like he was there. We don't know why, but he was just there.
Right.
In this, you understand, you get, like, his whole story. And actually, like, you understand, like, his powers in this. And then he's, like, actually pretty...
Controls cybernetics and stuff.
He's pretty powerful, because he can control, like, everything technological on Earth.
Right.
Just with his mind. And you find out, like, his relationship with his father is strained because he was in the accident with his mom. And then his dad, to save him, used one of the mother boxes, which turned him into a cyborg.
Yeah. And he doesn't even truly understand his power.
Yeah, he doesn't understand really what his powers are. He also resents his father.
Yeah. And it's fine. I think it's a nice thing when in a superhero movie the hero also doesn't, like a new hero also doesn't understand their power, because you can relate to that. Because it's one thing to throw Cyborg in and you don't understand his power, but he's using it.
Yeah,
it's another thing where he's also figuring it out along with you and taking you along with him on this journey, and you're like, oh, okay, like we're both figuring out. Like it's like in Harry Potter, we've talked about this before, but the magic of Harry Potter is he's finding out he's a wizard the same time that you are.
Yeah.
And you are like experiencing this world with him the first time. It kind of felt, not to like compare Harry Potter to the Cyborg, but in the same like, I guess, structure, it's nice that like you're also going along on this journey with this person, and then you understand more at the end, like what it was all about, as do they.
Yeah.
There's some character growth where before, like what you said, he was thrown in there. You kind of get like some idea.
Yeah.
But he's just like, remember Cyborg from Justice League?
Yeah.
He's in this.
Yeah, no, exactly. So you dive into it, they explain his powers way more, and you see it through his eyes as he's like understanding how he can like visualize like banks and everything, or how he can control like weapons and stuff like that. The Flash also got a massive overhaul in this.
I think that was like my favorite part.
Yeah.
Was like his first scene, as opposed to like...
Yeah, the first time you see Flash is, I think...
in the first movie, the Joss Whedon version, it's when Batman shows up, and he's like, is this you? Like, robbing this like store? I mean, you see him in Dawn of Justice, because he comes back in time. He's like, Bruce, stop this.
Yeah, you see him from the Nightmare verse, or whatever they call it.
And it's like ambiguous whether or not he actually was there, like time traveling, or if
because Batman has the vision where he fights the Superman soldiers, and the
world's taken over by Darkseid and stuff.
Darkseid, and Superman's like one of Darkseid's henchmen now.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, I can run really fast. And I eat a lot.
Yeah,
and now you see like, oh, he's applying to a job.
Yeah,
and he saved someone.
He's also like really goofy in the theatrical one. Like, he's like strictly the comedic relief.
Yeah, even
in this movie, he still has like some like jokes.
Yeah,
because he's supposed to be like, the funnier one. But for the majority, like, it lands in this. Like, it's like, oh, okay,
it's done well. Even in the first scene where he like runs to save the girl on the street when he's applying to the puppy job, he kind of runs like goofy because he's not wearing a suit, so he doesn't have any friction support. So he's kind of running like. He's got like crotch burn.
He runs so fast out of his shoes also.
Yeah, and he's like also trying to be like really careful with everything.
Gentle, not to like... He knows like if I touch her too hard, I'm going to like fling her across.
Yeah, so he's like being super careful with everything he does. Yeah. And it's like funny, like grabs the hot dog for the dogs and stuff. And it's funny, but it lands because you're like, oh, you're
understanding how the Flash works in this movie.
How he thinks, and it's funny, but it's not like in your face like, hey guys, this is funny, right? It's like, okay, I get this.
Yeah, he had some stupid jokes in the theatrical one, because the first time it's when Bruce Wayne, the two of them meet in his hideout, and he says like a couple like weird jokes, or not so funny jokes, to like make the audience laugh.
Even like with the whole like comedic thing, it felt like a ripoff of like, oh, you know how like Marvel movies are funny now? Like, let's make this one funny. And like Wonder Woman lassos like Aquaman, and he's like, oh, you're so beautiful and stuff. He doesn't realize the lasso's on him and everything.
Oh yeah, there's when he sits on the lasso of truth in the airplane.
Yeah, they took that out, right?
Yeah, that wasn't in there.
Yeah, see, like that's good. All these characters can be organically funny.
Like all these jokes they took out because they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
And it's a dark movie.
Yeah,
like the world's about to be taken over and like shit's about to go down.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's the stakes are high, but I have to say for the Zack Snyder movie, compared to like Man of Steel or Dawn of Justice, tone wise, it's not as like bleak as the other two. Like this one, it was like it. I feel like Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice were just like fucking dour for the sake of being like dark and dour
because they're trying to be dark.
Yeah, where this one I felt like everything made sense, and like it wasn't his dark. Because in the end, like it's kind of like everything's like kind of like hopeful in the end a little bit. Because they're like, we finally, work together.
Mm-hmm.
We save the world and everything.
Yeah, there is like the sense of hope throughout the movie, like that these people are coming together, and there is a chance to bring back Superman and to fight off the
there's a chance that we will win this sort of.
Yeah.
So yeah, Flash way better. Understand Aquaman way more. You understand Cyborg way more.
You understand their intentions for joining. It's not just like, oh, we're putting together a superhero team.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's actually like personal stakes that are in this, and we understand these characters better.
They also
a lot less Batman in this movie. He was not as important. I mean, he brings the team together.
He does, yeah. I felt like I like that part though, because if you think about Batman compared to everyone else, he's just a dude in a costume who can fight. He's
like the Nick Fury kind of the Justice League.
These other characters can like lift cars and like throw people through like walls and stuff.
Yeah.
He's human.
Yeah. And with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, we understand their motives. We've seen them, they clearly like want to help. We've seen this before. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to focus on why they want to be in it. Like, they are it. They want other people to join it. We need to see why these other people's intentions of joining and like what they want, because the shift for the characters was way better focused in this movie. Yeah. The focus, just the character development stuff in general. Yeah. Because you do want to see the people who you haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. It just worked way better. Yeah. Also, the score in this movie, mwah.
Yeah, no,
so good.
The score was good. I really enjoyed Zack Snyder's song choices.
Yeah, it was like weird.
Yeah.
But it was like good. It made
sense, oddly enough, everything.
Yeah, like in the Flash scene, it was kind of like a love song-y thing, but it wasn't like
Yeah, I think that's something. I think he did that a little bit in or not a little bit. He did it quite a bit in Watchmen.
Yeah.
Where he added like songs into like the scenes and everything.
I did not know he directed Watchmen.
Yeah. He did Watchmen.
I'm surprised he took the squid out for Watchmen.
That was the one part that confused me. Well, because I don't remember the squid being in it at all. Mm-hmm. And then looking back, you pointed out that the squid was actually in the comics.
In the comic. But I only knew that because, I mean, I read the graphic novel since.
Didn't you just read it when we were talking about that?
Yeah, I was reading it when we talked about it. Mm-hmm. But in the movie, he sets off a bunch of bombs. But in the comic, he drops a giant...
squid on Times Square.
What's his name?
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias, yeah. He drops a squid, and he's like... They're like, yo, you can't do this. He's like, I did it 30 seconds ago. Or like 30 minutes ago. Like, I already did it.
It's the same thing in the movie, except what he did was that he set off a bunch of bombs to make it look like Dr. Manhattan just annihilated all the major cities in the world.
Right. But back to Justice League.
Yeah, back to Justice League.
I mean, Watchmen's very good, but...
Yeah.
But the score was really good.
I love all the scenes where Steppenwolf is going to... He goes to collect the mother cubes from each place. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like the fight scene with all the Amazonians when he's collecting the first one, way more solid and interesting.
Way more tension, too.
Yeah. Way more interesting than the theatrical version.
Yeah.
Like, it's this... Because they, it has the whole thing of, like, we're passing the cube along. Mm-hmm. Try to get it away from them.
That was really good.
And, everyone's...
Like,
he's
dying.
Like, he's, like, killing everyone and stuff like that. Same thing with the Wonder Woman scene where she's saving the bank. Mm-hmm. That's way more interesting and has way more detail in it than the theatrical release.
Right. Because wasn't it originally, it was just like bank robbers?
Yeah, it was just bank robbers, and it was like this quick thing where she just saved everyone.
Jumps in and deflects all the bullets.
Yeah. Whereas like there are people who are trying to like bring the government down, like bring the entire world down or something like that.
Yeah, even like the super minor characters got way more attention to like their motives. You're like, okay, like she's not just randomly saving a random bank. Mm-hmm. She probably has been following these people for a while. Yeah. Like there's a reason why she's doing all this.
Yeah. I think the goofiest part about that scene though was she's like saving all these people from all the like she kills all the other henchmen.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one she decides to like take out the entire like half of this building.
Right.
To knock that's I mean that's a very Zack Snyder thing to do. But
what'd you think about Superman in this movie? Because he was not done well at all in the
well, first off, I could tell they reshot everything with him because he didn't have the
fake mustache.
We're hiding the mustache with CGI.
Mm. He also had the black suit on.
Yes,
like
that was cool. No, the stuff with Superman in this I liked way more. Also, like the reasoning with Awakening Superman, it made more sense in this than it did in the theatrical release.
Right.
Because you remember in the theatrical release, they were just like, "Oh, we have to drop the cube in, and the Flash has to touch it at the right time, so that we can." But they don't explain how like
Flash's powers work.
Yeah, well,
when he reaches the speed of light,
the way they do it, it's like they're like, "We only have one shot at this," and it's like you could just pick the cube back up and drop it again, sort of thing.
Right.
But the point of that scene, why it works in this is you set up the fact that Flash can go so fast that he can turn back time.
Right, with the speed force.
Because that's the first time you see him able to turn back time.
And it's a little snippet for like what to expect. It's foreshadowing the future, really.
Exactly, yeah. So you get introduced to the fact that okay, Flash can go so fast that he can turn back time.
And he also doesn't really understand this either.
Yeah.
He just thinks that like weird stuff happens when he reaches a certain speed.
Yeah, he mentions that, time gets weird when he starts going faster than the speed of light.
Right.
And he doesn't really quite understand how that works.
But he thinks he can pull it off.
Yeah.
And he misses, but then reverses time a little bit.
Yeah, he goes too late, but he went so fast that it reversed just enough that he's able to go it off. And he goes so fast that he also goes through the wall also. He does his molecule. He's moving so fast that his molecules can move through matter.
Because that's how the way like I read it was so the speed force, Flash doesn't have to go a certain speed to, I mean, in the movie he does, but in like the comics, the speed force, the way it works, you don't have to go a certain speed to go through time. You have to vibrate your molecules in a certain way to go through time. And if Flash does this by running super fast, that's how he's able to build up enough energy to move his molecules. But other speedsters do like different things in order to I think at some point in the comics too, Flash learns how to just like stand still and do it.
Yeah, I watched the
Flashpoint paradox.
I watched Flashpoint, but I also watched the Doom Protocol.
Which I haven't seen that one.
That's the one where I forget what the bad guy's name is, but he's able to hack into to Batman's computer, and he finds a secret file of Batman's how Batman figured out how to kill each member of the Justice League.
Right.
And the one thing was like he would attach a bomb to Flash that goes through him, and if he has to keep going a certain speed because if he decelerates, the bomb goes off.
Oh, like that movie with the bus.
Yeah, and but the way that they get around that in that movie is Batman also knows how to counteract each thing that he can do to kill. You know what's funny about that though in that movie? I don't mean to get off topic, but everything he does, he's like, it's not meant to kill. He's like, it's not meant to kill. Everything I've come up with is a plan not to kill members of the Justice, but incapacitate them. Everyone else's plan, every other member, like Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, their plans do work in incapacitating them. However, the Flash and Superman's plan is just like murder.
Right.
Because
you can't stop.
Yeah, because the bomb, if the bomb went off, it would just kill the Flash in general. And then the way to kill Superman was that he had Batman created a kryptonite bullet.
Okay, that's funny.
That he would shoot Superman with.
What? One last thing before we wrap up on Justice League is I remember in the first movie, Flash and Superman have a race at the end.
Yeah, that got cut out. That was really goofy.
Yeah, and that's alluding to the comics because they race like a couple, like 4 or 5 times in the comics. And there was a big debate like who's faster, is Flash or Superman? And Flash is actually like a lot faster than Superman because when they race in the comics, it's always for like charity that they do it. Or like one time there was aliens that were forcing them to do it for some stupid reason. But they like tie and stuff like a lot. Like they come in at the same time.
Yeah, and then isn't the Flash like, yeah, we were running for fun this time. I'm actually
and then when Flash when he realizes that he has to like kill himself basically in order to like restore order to the world, Superman's like chasing after him, and he's like, we raced before and like I've beaten you. You can't outrun me. And then Barry Allen's last words were, those were for charity. And he just fucking like sprints like away, like way faster than Superman does. So that was really funny.
They also got rid of, do you remember the Russian people living in the nuclear power?
Oh yeah.
Thank
God. Cause that was so
unnecessary.
We have to care about like, like we already care. You don't need to throw like certain individuals in here.
Yeah. That was another. I was happy they cut that.
That was
out.
a very Joss Whedon thing to do.
Yeah,
because he does that in like a lot of movies.
Also, I don't know if you remember all the scenes with the scene with Lois Lane in the theatrical release was Martha Kent comes to visit Lois at work in the theatrical release. And she's like, "Oh, I want you to get back to your life, Lois." And she's like, "Oh, I'm happy writing puff pieces." And then a dude walks in and just says some weird misogynist stuff. And it's like bizarre. I don't know why that's in there.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't know. He just says a bunch of sexist stuff.
Says some Andrew Cuomo shit.
Yeah. But then in this one, which is also it kind of gets undercut with the end part because they have this like really nice heart to heart in Lois's apartment where Lois is like, I miss him.
Yeah, they're both grieving.
Yeah, and Martha's like, I lost my son and I can't tell people, he's Superman and he saved the world. He did so much, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then she walks out the door and turns into Martian Manhunter. And you're like, what?
She did?
Yeah, you don't remember that
part?
I
missed that part.
Yeah, no, she walks...
I remember that scene. I don't remember her turning to Martian Manhunter,
She walks out the door and it's Martian Manhunter.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So it's... That part, I was like... It bothered me because I was like, wait a second. This is how you're introducing Martian Manhunter. Okay, cool. Martian Manhunter's in this. But you just totally just undercut that whole scene. This like emotional heart to heart between.
Unless Martha Kent is Martian Manhunter.
No,
who's like tasked with like
it's because Martian Manhunter comes out like he turns back in Martian Manhunter
right at the end,
and then he says after he leaves the apartment and he goes, "Lois, your story is important too," and then like he like walks away, and it's like, okay, weird. I
don't know how I missed that.
That's the one I feel like. Yeah, there's probably like a few nitpicky things I could probably get into. Like, definitely didn't need to be 4 hours long. Could have definitely been like 3.5.
Yeah, but it was an enjoyable 4 hours.
It was. I have to say,
it wasn't stale at any point. And I enjoyed the chapters. It kind of felt like a Tarantino film, kind of.
Yeah, I like the chapter breakdown.
So overall, how would you like? What's your like final impressions?
Far superior than the theatrical release.
Yeah,
and then standing on its own, not comparing it to that. Good movie. Good movie.
I think it's definitely elevated because we can compare it to the original.
Yeah,
or like because if you compare it to the original, you're like, this is like one of the best superhero movies of all time. Which it is a very good like superhero movie. Just a good movie in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what you said, like on its own though, even if that was the cut that like was released, I would have been very happy.
Yeah. Probably could have cut down a couple scenes. Didn't need them to be super, super long. Probably wouldn't have introduced Martian Manhunter till the end because that was just like a weird way to throw him in the beginning.
Right. But also, because it's released on HBO Max, they were probably fine with the 4 hours. If it was a theatrical release, it probably would not have been 4 hours.
I mean, this definitely would not have flied as a theatrical release, just because I don't know if you know how movie theaters work, like currently, like big chain ones. The projector is like, it's a projector / a computer, and
it automatically cuts the reel, right?
Yeah, essentially, there's servers. It's like it connects to like Warner Brothers servers or whoever's the main thing that's putting out the movie,
right?
And it's like timed slots, so really no one has to watch. Like no one, there's no need for anyone to like run the projector. There's just someone there to make sure that like there's like no catastrophic meltdown sort of thing. So like when you see all the times when you're buying your ticket,
right?
It's like timed out where, okay, this it's going to connect to the server and it's going to play the movie. And if you think about like all like movies now, really they shoot for like an hour 40 to 2 hours. The reason you want to do that is because you want to have as many show times in a day as possible.
Yeah, they cram them in.
So you can get as much money from viewings. So it's that nice sweet spot because it's short enough that we can show this like 12, 13 times a day. Whereas like a 4-hour movie, you could probably only get that in, I don't know, maybe like you get 3 viewings in a day.
Yeah.
So this definitely would not have flied as a theatrical release, which is
that's fine.
Which is fine with streaming. You can make anything as long as like The Irishman.
Yeah.
That was almost 4 hours. And that works because you could just stream it, watch it at your own pleasure.
That's why movie theaters are dead.
Yeah.
Because you can't truly project your like vision for something if you're constrained by so many things. With streaming, you can literally just do whatever the fuck you want.
The sad part is
budget's the only thing.
Warner Brother already announced that next year they're not going to do we're releasing the movie same day on HBO Max as we're doing it in the theater.
They're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, because they made a deal with Regal.
Fuck that. That sucks.
But before we get out, what'd you think about the final scene, the nightmare scene with Batman and Joker? Because that's a scene that a lot of people, either people love that part or people are like, that was probably the worst part of the movie.
I liked it. It could have been shorter because it really gives away like a ton of shit.
I felt like that scene probably didn't need to be in there. I did enjoy the interaction between Batman and Joker, but I thought seeing this I might be more impressed with Jared Leto's Joker, and I really wasn't.
Yeah, I mean it was better than Suicide Squad.
It was better than Suicide Squad, but I was still kind of like this. I really didn't get. I did like the part, however, where Joker's like, "Oh, I killed Robin," and then Batman's like, "How'd you like it when I fucking killed Harley Quinn?"
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Let's be clear, I am going to kill you at the end. I'm going to kill you."
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I really did enjoy that interaction between.
I liked it. It was a little too long.
I didn't think it. Yeah, that seemed
like you can foreshadow and allude to stuff that's going to happen in the future, but it doesn't have to be a full scene out of the movie from the future.
I don't want to say that scene was the worst thing. I definitely didn't enjoy it all that much. It was okay, but I don't think it had to be in.
I was kind of like, what the fuck is happening right now?
I felt like, where it could have ended was when Martian Manhunter comes in at the end. That should have been the first time that you see Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
And they could have ended with that where it's like,
because then also it's like, why was he not part of the fight if he was on Earth?
True, yeah, that's the other like little plot hole thingy is like Martian Manhunter was there the entire time and he didn't bother trying to help the Justice League at all.
Yeah, but he cares about Lois Lane's feelings.
Yeah, yeah, that was also probably the weakest part. I mean, I know they didn't focus on Lois Lane a ton in this, but they're still trying to be like, oh, her story is just as important as everyone else's.
Yeah,
they still haven't figured out how to do that right. I don't think her story has to be really like as like central as like Wonder Woman or Batman or Superman's story arc.
Yeah, because she's not in the Justice League.
Yeah,
but you definitely cared more about her story because she's like a real person in mourning and can't tell anyone about
her
it.
character in this makes way more sense, than like any of the past. Like her character, it's just they took care of it way better. Just because she's mourning the loss of Clark.
Yeah,
she thinks he's never going to come back, and then like
you can actually see why she's in the movie, and then she helps take him down, like at the end or like in the middle, like when he's like going on a rampage.
Yeah, she's the reason why. Yeah, she's able to kind of talk him off the cliff.
Yeah, but
overall,
though, I'm pretty happy.
No, I highly recommend it. I mean, I think it's good. It's worth if you're a comic book fan, superhero fan. I mean, definitely watch it.
How long is Godzilla King Kong? That's gonna be long too, right?
I think it's either 2.5 or 3.
Yeah, but
I hear, besides the DC fans review bombing it and just saying bring back the Snyderverse, the reviews have been like just full on monster carnage. It's gonna be awesome.
That's my one hope, is that they don't focus too much on the story that no one cares about. I think we talked about this in the past. I think we talked about episode 2.
We mentioned it when we were talking about our first thoughts on the Just was definitely the weakest part about the Godzilla movies are the humans.
The human
story.
Yeah.
Where
he's tearing down a city. We know it's severe.
Yeah, we want to see him fight. Yeah, we want to see him fight all these monsters.
Yeah. So who do you think's going to win?
I'm a Godzilla fan. I think Godzilla's coming out on top.
Think so?
Who do you think?
I think that it's going to be like a tie. I think neither one's going to win. It's going to be like a bullshit like almost win. I think King Kong is going to almost win, because I feel like they're going to portray him as the good guy in this, because they're bringing him to like defend the city and stuff.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I called it from the beginning when I saw the first trailer. I was like, oh, Mecha Godzilla is going to show up in this at some point,
which we don't know for sure that he is or not.
It's kind of been ruined already, because Funko already is like, oh, we're releasing the Mecha Godzilla Funko.
Yeah, spoiler alerts for Godzilla King Kong.
This has been ruined like months ago already.
Okay,
that was actually probably the big, because they released. That's probably the worst part with like branding and everything, because like. They want to release these toys so that they can like make extra money on top of it, and they're like, we'll release probably like the biggest like little plot twist in the movie is Mechagodzilla showing up. That was
ruined, because I was just like looking through the Funko fucking app. I wasn't even on like Facebook or anything, and it's like, oh, Mechagodzilla. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Same thing. I'm part of these Funko groups, and they're like, oh, Mechagodzilla Funko.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
it's like when like Lego ruins like Star Wars and shit, because they release like the sets and stuff.
Exactly. Like I don't know if you remember. I didn't like the movie, but Jurassic World, when it came out,
I didn't see it.
I don't know. Did you see the trailer?
Mm-hmm. So
they keep hidden throughout the trailer like what this like genetically altered dinosaur is. You never see it throughout the trailer, because you're supposed to see it when you go see the movie.
Right.
I think a month or two before the movie comes out, the way it gets spoiled was that they released like kids' party plates at Party City, and it had the Indominus Rex on the plates.
Yeah.
So something that you didn't see in the trailer, it gets ruined because they're just throwing out all this merchandise.
It's also super disappointing because these big, huge like Hollywood studios are so lock and key with their script that even like some of the cast members don't know what's really going to happen. Yeah. They'll like even film like fake scenes just so like it won't get leaked and stuff like that. Like famously, like in Star Wars,
they did that in Game of Thrones also.
Yeah, but Luke Skywalker was the only person who knew that Darth Vader was his father. Luke Skywalker, George Lucas, and the head writer. 3 people knew. Yeah. Not even Harrison Ford or like Carrie Fisher knew.
Didn't the script that everyone had, Darth Vader's line was, I killed your father?
Yeah. So Mark Hamill is the only person besides like the makers who knew. Mm-hmm. And like that wasn't spoiled. But now it's like, like Tom Holland doesn't even know like if the other Spider-Mans are in this movie, which is bullshit, they are. But like we're going to release like these kids' toys that literally ruined the entire fucking movie for everyone. Yeah.
Like I know
to these kids who can't even appreciate
exactly, yeah. Like we're gonna ruin it just by merchandising because we want to get as much money as possible.
Yeah, it's not hard to just like have the movie come out and like the day after release like the toys for it.
I know, right? Or yeah.
And it's the companies themselves that are releasing this stuff like Funko. It's not even like someone works in the warehouse and finds like this and like, hey everyone, Mechagodzilla's in the movie. It's like the company themselves are like, hey guys, buy this Funko.
Pre-order.
But my theory is that they're gonna fight and then either Godzilla is gonna be Mechagodzilla, like in the first time Mechagodzilla was in it, right?
So you think the Godzilla that you're seeing in the trailer isn't actually Godzilla? It's Mechagodzilla.
It's Mechagodzilla because Godzilla in the past has always been like the defender. They kind of try to portray him as a good guy in like the movies that have come out.
Okay.
Because like he fights a King Ghidorah and like Mothra. Like, well, I think Mothra's also a good.
Yeah,
is good.
Him and Mothra have a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, but now all of a sudden he's a bad guy, and they have to bring in King Kong. I think the real Godzilla will show up, but I think King Kong is going to beat the one we see in the trailer, who's actually Mechagodzilla, and it's going to be kind of bullshit because everyone wants to see King Kong and Godzilla fight. And it's actually going to be King Kong Mechagodzilla.
You think
so you can say like, oh, King Kong beat Godzilla.
You think the big fight in the end is going to be real Godzilla and King Kong teaming up to fight Mechagodzilla?
Yeah, I think either King Kong's going to beat Mechagodzilla and you find out that's Mechagodzilla, or Mechagodzilla is about to kill King Kong, and you maybe like some paint's missing and shit, and then real Godzilla is gonna show up and just do like a laser blast through his head.
Because in the original, like the old like Japanese movie, when they first introduced Mechagodzilla, is Godzilla goes on this rampage and just starts murdering all killing all the monsters,
right?
And everyone's confused because like there's some like. He goes after this one that isn't in the movie called Anguirus, who's kind of like this like spiky turtle thing, and he kills it. And in the fight, Anguirus hits him with his like spike tail and like rips off a chunk of his skin, and underneath he's all shiny. And everyone's like, "What?" And then it turns out that he's a giant robot that aliens had made.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna work Mechagodzilla in this.
Yeah,
or they might bring him in to like fight. Like, try to keep the fight at bay.
In that movie, when they first introduced Mechagodzilla, he's introduced as he's a creation by aliens that he sent them to Earth to, like, mess up stuff. But then every time Mechagodzilla's in the Godzilla movies after that, he's a human creation meant to defend cities against Godzilla.
Yeah. I think it's going to be humans are taking advantage of this monster thing and want to cause them just like a government is going to make Mechagodzilla to try to like topple like Tokyo or whatever and like say it was a monster. But then King Kong is going to come in and reveal that it was actually like a corporation or some shit.
In like those older Godzilla movies, there's always been like an alien storyline sometimes. And it's always
because King Ghidorah is an alien, right?
Yeah, so King Ghidorah
he's like up from the moon or something.
He's always been an alien. He's been something from far out in space. No one exactly knows where he's from.
Right.
But there's this monster called Gigan, who's like a giant cyborg monster who has like hooks for arms and a chainsaw stomach.
Nice.
He was created by aliens to kill Godzilla.
Okay.
And I think there's one movie where him and King Ghidorah work together to fight Godzilla and Anguirus. It's a good one. That's one of my favorites.
A lot of movies. I gotta watch these.
There's like I have the
and then Godzilla became like a little dancing man. He became like Goofy in like the 70s, right?
Oh yeah, no, he was
so big that they just made him like
Well, they were also it was called the Showa era with with Godzilla. There's like 20 movies. I have the Criterion collection of all of them. Yeah, when the first movie was essentially like, it was like Godzilla was supposed to represent the nuclear attacks on Japan.
Right.
That's what he was supposed, because he's a monster that got awoken because of the
nuclear radiation,
because of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, so he's supposed to. Godzilla himself is supposed to be the fear of nuclear attack.
That's actually like good meaning behind it.
Yeah, that's what he's. And then the movie was so popular, between it being showed in in Japan it was super big. Everyone loved it.
There's like a statue of him, right, in Tokyo?
Yeah. And then it got re-released in America where they redubbed the whole movie, and then they inserted this American journalist into the film where it's really funny because he's supposed to be interacting with all like the Japanese main characters. And whenever you see him talking with the Japanese characters, you only see the back of these Japanese people's heads. And you see him talking to them. And then they'll always just cut to the shot that they already had in the movie of like them talking. So they like,
He's like, hey, by the way, like interjecting.
I mean, talk about whitewashing. Like they just like, they threw out like a main character and they just like introduced this new guy into
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But so we'll see.
Hope it's good.
We'll see if next week we call it true.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. And I'm always right. Even if I'm wrong, I know like the subtext of the movie. This is what they actually meant. But you want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
I think we're running pretty long here.
This
one. But it was a good one, though.
It's a good one, yeah.
All right.
So, everyone, thanks for joining us on this wild roller coaster of emotions and then Justice League.
Which is essentially the same thing.
Yeah, it's all the same thing.
And Godzilla Kong.
Yeah. So, remember, release the Snyder Cut, and we will catch you guys.
And find us on Instagram at Tabletop Tonic.
Yep. Instagram, our website, tabletoptonic.com.
Subscribe to our YouTube.
Yeah,
we put the videos up. Nick edits them very well. We have it's nice to it's probably not nice to see our faces, but we get to see us like talk and stuff.
Or if it's easier, it's sometimes easier just to, watch it if you want. That's an option. So all 3 episodes are up. I will try to get this. I'm going to work faster on getting the episodes up sooner than a week after they've been recorded. But yeah, website, YouTube. We still have our Instagram.
Yep. And then anchor.fm/tabletop tonic will show you all of the places that you can listen to our podcast.
Yep. And we also have all our episodes on our website too, right?
Yep. So you can just stream them straight from our website if you prefer. You don't have to download any apps or anything. You just press the play button and
we're on Spotify, Google Podcasts.
Yep. Anchor.
Good ones.
Breakbox. A bunch of different ones. So anywhere you want to find us, we will be there.
Yep.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah. And we will catch you guys on the Flippity Flop.
Yeehaw.